Good morning. We have quorum. I'd like to call the 10th meeting of the Scarborough Community Council to order. We welcome all members of the Community Council and, of course, the members of the public and the media. We acknowledge the land that we're meeting on the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, the Wendat peoples, and in many home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed by multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. I'd like to acknowledge we have a class, students that are here from University of Toronto Scarborough campus, third-year program, Municipal and Planning Policy Practice, and the teacher, I believe, is Kelly Snow. If you guys just sort of wave, we thank you for coming today. And if any of you are looking for jobs, I can point out to, where's the smiley individual? Mr. Van Tresco over there. Thanks for coming, and I hope you enjoyed today. Are there any declarations of interest under the Municipal of Interest Act? If so, please indicate the item number and the nature of the interest. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes of the Scarborough Community Council meeting of September 16th and October 16th, 2019?
So moved.
All those in favor? Thank you. Carried. Let's proceed with the rundown of the agenda. Members, if you wish to hold an item, please state your name and say the hold for items with speakers. I will hold those items. SC.1, request the fence exemption front yard for Cornell Avenue. We do have a speaker, two speakers.
Mr. Chair, I have, just to let you know, I have spoken with the deputations or the deputants.
Yes.
They're comfortable if we want to proceed and move forward without speaking, and I would be moving recommendation number 2 to grant the proposed exemption.
All those in favor? Hold on, it's time? It's time for 9? Time for 9:40.
Oh, 9:40, okay, we can,
So we'll come back in 4 minutes.
we can do it.
Okay.
Sounds good.
SC 10.2, request for fence exemption front yard, 17 Applefield Drive. Councillor Thompson. Is this the time?
Mr. Chair, that's also timed for 9:40.
9:40?
Yep.
Okay. SC 10.3, request for fence exemption front yard, 28 Keon Place. Councillor McKelvey, and I believe this is it? It's the time 9:40. Okay. Can we see the clock is 9:40? SC 10.4, request for fence exemption front yard, 70 Falaise Road. Councillor Ainsley, and I believe that will be also a timed item for 9:40. SC 10.5, 113-141 Montezuma Trail Zoning Bylaw Amendment Application, final report. And I believe we do have speakers, and that's time for 10 o'clock. Thank you. SC 10.6, 1900 Eglinton Avenue Official Plan Amendment Application Preliminary Report. Time? No, okay. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move the recommendations that staff have actually presented to us.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.7, 756 Warden Avenue Zoning Amendment Application Preliminary Report. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you very much. I'll move staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.8, 3945 Thorough Avenue Zoning Amendment Application Request for Directions Report. Councillor Crawford, timed? No. Oh, we have speakers. Okay. We'll hold it down. SC 10.9, intention to designate under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, 3315 Midland Avenue. Councillor Lai. We have speakers on that, so we'll hold. SC 10.10, application to remove a private tree, 94 Atlee Avenue. Councillor Crawford.
I'll move staff recommendations to deny.
In favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.11, application to remove a private tree, 95 Pebble Hill. And I believe we do have speakers. Speaker, okay. We'll hold. Councillor? Timed? Councillor Lai? You, okay, we'll hold. You want to proceed now or hold? Hold. These are speakers, so we'll hold. We'll hold, okay. SC 10.12, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880, fire routes 8825 to 8835 and 8855 Sheppard Avenue East and 500 to 510 and 555 Kingbird Grove. Councillor McKelvey, and I believe that she wants us to move staff recommendations. Speakers. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.13, residential demolition application, 672 Birchmount Road. Councillor Crawford.
I'll move item number 1 to approve with conditions.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.14, residential demolition application, 674 Birchmount Road. Councillor Crawford.
The same, recommendation number 1 to approve with conditions.
All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.15, residential demolition, 9 Vanberg Avenue. Councillor Crawford.
I'll be moving recommendation number 1.
All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.16, residential demolition application, 2590 Midland. I move staff recommendations number 1. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.17, residential demolition application, 2592 Midland Avenue. Move recommendations number 1. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.18, Metrolinx Go expansion, time extension of Dowry Street temporary road closure. I'm moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.19, permanent closure of portions of 10 public highways within Rouge Park for inclusion in newly created Rouge National Urban Park. Councillor McKelvey, and on her behalf, I'm moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.20, parking and stopping regulation seasons drive. Councillor Lai.
I move staff recommendation.
All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.21, through highway designation, Clean Side Road and compulsory stop control, Dean's Drive and Facilier Drive at Howie Avenue. Councillor Crawford.
I'll move staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.22, standing prohibition, Chancery Lane. And on behalf of Councillor Ainsley, I do have a motion to move, if staff can put it up, that Scarborough Community Council adopt recommendations in the report October 8, 2019 from the Acting Director, Traffic Management and Transportation Services with the following amendment. Replace it with Scarborough Community Council prohibits standing from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday on the west side of Chancery Lane between Gilwood Parkway and Chadbury Court. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. SC 10.23, traffic calming speed humps, 30-kilometer speed limit, Silver Springs Boulevard. I do have a motion, if staff can put it up. Delete the recommendations in the staff report October 9, 2019 from the Acting Director, Traffic Management and Transportation Services and replace with the following: 1, waive the polling requirements; 2, direct the city solicitor to prepare bylaw alter roadway Silver Springs Boulevard between Perthshire Street and Wayside Avenue for traffic calming measures, generally as shown on the location plan attached. Scarborough Community Council reduced the speed limit from 40 to 30 on Silver Springs between Perthshire and Perthshire Street and Wayside Avenue. That's in front of a school. And sure.
Thank you. I'm going to be supporting you on this matter.
I remember a petition.
Yes, because it seems that unless we take matters into our own hands in that of protecting the public, it just seems that everyone who seems to be driving a car seems to think that, quite frankly, it's a freeway, whether or not it's in the subdivision or the highway. People now are driving in such manner, and a lot of it is reckless, that is creating such challenges for our residents in the community. And I think that we're now left with a position that simply requires us to do more, irrespective of the staff's advice. And we respect their professional advice. But we know that last year, 45% of the people who were killed or seriously affected by traffic occurrences, because these are things that could be avoided, were in Scarborough. We know that at this point that the distance between traffic intersections in Scarborough, the average distance is about 850 meters. Most people choose to cross mid-block and so on. We see that this continues to be a problem where people are being fatally injured and so on. And so we now are left, in as much as we have been resisting the notion of adding these types of traffic calming, which is speed bumps, humps, and so on, are now left with no choice than to implement them to protect the very safety and lives of our citizens. We have that as a primary responsibility. And so it is no longer a situation where we're worried about how vehicles will react or how drivers will react. I think it's important for us to take the strong position and send a strong message that we want to protect our citizens. In fact, I think, and I'll be working, and Mr. Chair, if you're interested in working on motion with me, I'll be moving that we actually increase the traffic infraction fines to send a stronger message, because the message is not getting home to people. Even in my own subdivision I'm driving, I'm going the speed limit, and people are suggesting that's not sufficient. So I'm with you on this, and I just wanted to basically send a message that today we need to actually do a better job to protect our citizens.
Thank you, Councillor. I'd be more than happy to work with you on that motion. We might need to get provincial... Yes. Yeah, sure. Okay. All right. So all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.24, we do have a speaker, but if I can... if it's okay with the speaker, speakers, if we can put the motion on in the same vein, if we can move this item similarly, I think that might alleviate the need for the speaking. So the motion recommends that we waive the polling requirement. Scarborough Community Council direct the solicitor to look after it, and Scarborough Community Council reduce the speed from 40 to 30 on Cass Avenue between Warden and Birchmount Road in conjunction with the installation of speed humps. Also adopt the acting director for a no U-turn. I believe that's the one, right? Okay, so if that's okay with the speaker, we can put it to a vote, and all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And thank you. It's done. It's done. It's done. This is what you need, right? This is what you're looking for? Okay. This is what you wanted, correct? Okay. I know you got a speech ready and everything, but it's done. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you. All right. SC 10.25, always stop, control review, Heavendale Road and Scotland Rocker Crescent. This is one of the streets which is the same. I do have a motion if staff can put it up. This is to recommend compulsory stop at the intersection of Heavendale and Scotland Road Rocker. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And thank you to staff for all their hard work on this one. SC 10.26, U-turn prohibition, Pharmacy Avenue between Dawes Road and Bettis Road. Councillor Crawford.
I'll move staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.7, U-turn prohibition, Segmount Drive between Pandora Circle and Daventry Road. Councillor Ainsley, and I believe, okay. Councillor Ainsley wants us to move staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. We're going to timed items. SC 10.1. Now time is 9:49. Request for fence exception front yard 4 Cornell Avenue, Councillor Crawford. And I do realize that we have two speakers.
Yes.
Teresa La Rosa and Jason Fung.
So, Mr. Speaker, the second, Jason Fung is not here. I have spoken with Teresa Larazzo, who is the applicant. She would be comfortable. I'm going to be moving recommendation number 2 to grant the application, and she would not have to speak if that was the case.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Lai? Let's try this one more time. All those in favor of the motion by Councillor Crawford? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.2, front yard 17 Applefield Drive, Councillor Thompson.
Mr. Chair, is the applicant here? Can you call the applicant if the applicant's here?
The applicant here. Is the applicant here? Is the applicant here? Is the applicant here?
Going once, twice, 4 times? No. Okay, so then, Mr. Chair, I'm going to move recommendation number 1, refuse to grant the application.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.3, tight item, and this is Councillor McKelvey. Front yard, request for fence exception, front yard 28 Keon Place. Is the applicant here? Is the applicant here? Is the applicant here? On behalf of Councillor McKelvey, I'd like to move to grant the fence exception. This is number 2, I believe, right? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Oh, sorry. All right, you want a recorded vote? Yeah. Okay, can I have a recorded vote, please? Councillor Crawford, Councillor Karygiannis, Councillor Lai 4, Councillor Thompson opposed. SC 10.4, request for fence exemption front yard 70 Falaise Road. There is a motion that I'd like to move on behalf of Councillor Ainsley. Is the applicant here? Nope, okay. If staff can put it on. It reads that Scarborough Community Council will withdraw the item from the agenda. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.5, it's time for 10 o'clock and we'll come back to it. SC 10.8, 39 to 45 Thora Avenue zoning amendment application request for directions report. Councillor Crawford, I think we do have a speaker, Christopher Tanzola. Sir, if you like to go in the middle. Yeah. Whenever you're ready, you have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. And I just wanted to put an air photo up on the screen.
Please, if you give it to the staff. Good to go? Good morning.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Good morning. Good morning to councillors as well. I'm here on behalf of the owner of the property at 39 and 45 Thora Avenue. The name of the owner is Rona Day, and she's with me here today, as well as her development consultant, Mr. Goldsmith. This property is currently before the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal on an appeal of a zoning bylaw amendment. The original application was made in 2013, and it was for 10 townhouses on the site. And my client worked through that 10 townhouse application for a while with city staff. It eventually became apparent through studies of the soils on the site that the site would need to be remediated, and that would require an underground parking garage. And because the site has been used for quite some time for parking and for open storage. You'll see it's sort of nestled in a very mixed neighborhood. It has single-family homes and semi-detached homes nearby. It also has lots of commercial uses in the vicinity. So after it was determined that an underground parking garage would be required on the site because of the soil remediation, my client revised the proposal and didn't formally resubmit it, but did discuss it with staff for some stacked townhouses on the site that did not have the support of city staff. And so we've come back in terms of our appeal that's at the Local Planning Appeal Tribunal with a 16-unit townhouse development. There's actually 15 units of townhouses and one detached house on Thora Avenue, all of which are sitting on top of an underground parking garage. And that allows us to deal with the soil remediation, it allows us to get the cars off the street, and it allows us to have a slightly more intense form of development in an area that's well served by transit, that's close to a mix of uses, and that really makes use of the site in a way that we've been trying to unlock for quite some time. As you can see, it's an oddly shaped L-shaped parcel that has frontage on Thora Avenue, but then tucks in behind the semi-detached houses that are on Thora Avenue. And so we've been looking at ways to unlock its development potential and have come up with the scheme that I thank staff for putting the site plan up there before you. We are moving forward with a hearing in 2020 at the Planning Tribunal. It's an August 2020 hearing. We have reached out to the neighbors on numerous occasions. There have been community meetings that have been held. Generally, I would say that there is support in the neighborhood for redeveloping the site. And although there may be some concerns about urban design tweaks that may be required to the current proposal, I would say that generally the neighborhood has been supportive of getting this site away from the storage and parking uses that have typified it and get it into a more neighborhood compatible use. We reviewed the staff report. Staff do have some concerns with respect to urban design and the number of units. We note that they're recommending opposition at the tribunal, but they also have a recommendation to continue to work with us. We would be quite pleased to continue to work with staff to make some refinements to the proposal. However, we just need it to be understood by staff and by council that because of the need to do underground parking on the site for soil remediation purposes, that comes with a cost, and there's a need to make sure that the development densities can support that kind of an investment in the site, because to do otherwise will leave the site as being kind of an orphan in this neighborhood. We think that the proposal is supported by provincial policy, the planning, the PPS, the growth plan. We are quite close to higher order transit along Danforth and Victoria Park. And we also think that this is supportive of the City of Toronto's official plan, particularly the policies in the neighborhoods designation that allow these kinds of infill sites that deviate from the sort of typical pattern of the neighborhood to be developed at ways that may not be identical to what surrounds them, but that are compatible with what surrounds them. And so that's why we have been working with the neighborhood to try and come up with a site plan that does allow the site to intensify, but also recognizes that we are inserting it into an existing neighborhood. While I wasn't thrilled with the recommendation to oppose us at the LPAT, I do take the recommendation to continue working with staff, and we're pleased to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any questions of the speaker? Councillor Crawford.
So just to confirm, you are supportive of the staff recommendations, mainly to continue the discussions and hopefully at LPAT or the discussions, you'll be able to come up to some sort of resolution. That's the goal of the recommendations here, but you'd be supportive of those.
We would support the continued discussions. We do think that there are probably some aspects of the site that can be looked at based on what's been written in the staff report. Obviously, there'd have to be some sort of tolerance for change on both parts, but yes, we would be supportive.
Okay. And you did mention urban design tweaks, and I'm going to ask staff after this. I believe, and I assume staff will answer, as I said, I believe they're a little more than just tweaks. One of the bigger concerns is when you're looking at having front doors actually opening up out to a street level. Your design actually doesn't have that, so it's not. I wouldn't say a tweak. It's a major concern I believe that staff have, and I'll ask them to answer that as well. So and that's one of the issues. I think we can get to a resolution. but I think it's a little more complicated than just tweaks that we have to fix on this.
That's a fair comment, and one man's tweaks may be another man's changes, and if I use the word tweaks too lightly, we do understand that there are some changes that staff want to see, and we'd be happy to work through them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Questions of staff?
Again, just in response to the deputant on your concerns and why, number one, why this has been around for quite a while prior to me, and just some of your major concerns on this application, hence why we're at LPAT right now on some of the urban design, I guess, tweaks or changes that are of concern to you on this site.
Through the chair, the senior planner, Mr. Francis Quashie, is going to answer the questions.
Through you, Mr. Chair, this application has been before city planning since 2013. And during the time, city staff have worked with the applicant to review the application and bring it to the point where it is compatible and fits appropriately on the site. As you rightly pointed out, the significant issue with this application is the 10 unit development. That is, it creates a building behind a building condition, whereby there's a lack of front entrances, a lack of street address, a lack of street frontage on Thora. What that does is that it lacks a balance between privacy and security. What you want to see is that we want to see eyes on the streets. That building behind the building does not provide that. And in terms of separation distances from adjacent properties, it lacks the minimum requirements that we typically look for infill developments. And as the applicant rightly said, on such irregularly shaped lots, our policies are somewhat flexible to allow for these types of development. Having said that, we look for a balance to result in a development that is an appropriate fit and minimizes impacts on the community. What you see before you does not do that. And so, as you rightly pointed out, there's significant concerns with the blocks of townhouses that contain 10 units.
Thank you. That's all my questions.
Any further questions of staff? Further questions of staff? Okay, speakers? Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be moving recommendations 1, 2, 3, and 4. This has been, as staff had mentioned, around since about 2013. I've seen a couple of reiterations on this. And it is a challenging site, but I think it's a site that is not uncommon in certain parts of the city, and specifically this area, where it's difficult to put anything in there. And I appreciate that the applicant has been really working diligently to try to figure out how to best put a development in a very challenging site in my ward. And as staff have said, there are some very serious urban design challenges with this site. But I'm confident that when it is also at LPAT right now. So I'm confident with these recommendations that the staff and the applicant will be able to go back, make the changes that will suit both parties, and will probably have a decision that will best benefit the community. So I'm quite comfortable that through this process we may see a resolution to this, as that's hence why I'm moving these motions. And with regard to, I've spoken with a number of residents in the community. There's mixed support, and there are challenges, so it's not as if it's overwhelmingly supportive of this, because it's a very small little street, little enclave. And we do want to have development there. So I think from these recommendations, we more than likely will come to some sort of resolution and finally get a little development in this little street down off of Danforth. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further speakers? Seeing none, all those in favor of Councillor Crawford's recommendations? Opposed? Carried. SC 10.9. We do have a speaker, and that is intention to designate under Part 4, Section 29 of the Interior Heritage Act.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Yes, Councillor Thompson.
It's 10:09, and SC 10.5 is scheduled for 10.
All right, let's go back.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor. Appreciate it. 113-141 Montezuma Trail zoning bylaw amendment application, final report, Councillor Lai. And we do have, I believe, speakers, Ronald Bailey? Sir, come on down. Whenever you're ready, sir.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the Scarborough Community Council regarding the application to redesign the plaza at 113-142 Montezuma Trail. My name is Ron Beale. I am the president of YCC 246 at 15 and 25 Brimwood, directly on the east side of Brimley across from the plaza. This plaza, my comments cover some concerns regarding the location of this service-oriented plaza in the middle of a suburban neighborhood. As you drive on adjacent streets such as Finch, Midland, Brimley, McCowan, there are no low-rise stacked townhouses except between Birchmount and Pharmacy. However, there is plenty of redevelopment land for plazas. Moving from east to west along Finch, you have the beer store plaza at Finch and Sandhurst, the police station at Brimley and Finch, plaza on the southwest side of Finch at Midland. The Finch and Kennedy area has lots of space to develop, 2 plazas at Finch and Birchmount, and redevelop Bridlewood Plaza. Each of these areas are on the highly serviceable Finch bus line, not on some obscure street in suburbia. The plaza redevelopment proposal is the wrong place at the wrong time. Plaza needs to remain as it is as a service location for the area residents. It is a short walk for many people. There used to be a main tenant, a CIBC bank, which needed to be larger and have more space and relocated to Brimley and Huntingwood several years ago. The current businesses include a pizza parlor, a barber shop, which includes a woman's Caribbean beauty salon, a variety store, a couple of others that will be closed. Allen's Bakery and a drugstore, which will remain in Phase 1, but will now have traffic flow problems for their clientele. A dental office already vacated. The design of this proposed renovated plaza is quite bluntly ugly, with a 40-foot-high facade facing Brimley Road. This is like dropping 5 container boxes, 20 by 8 by 8, on our doorstep, and it is also about the same height as our street lights, making it completely out of norm with the surrounding homes. At our previous meeting, one of the developers stated that this would have a nice facade fronting Brimley. A 10 or 12 by 4 area is unattractive. Further, a comment was made how this would enhance the street pedestrian traffic. What an utter nonsensical statement. Scarborough is the suburbs, not downtown Toronto. There are 4 bus stops on the east and west sides of Brimley, about 100 yards apart, plus some school kids' traffic. There is very little walking street circulation as there are no destinations to walk to. The east side of Brimley consists of our townhouses at YCC 246, Brimley Woods Park, a fire hall, and a police station. Moving north, there is a Shell station, about 150 to 200 yards of homes, and finding the plaza. Where is there a destination? An article in the current Scarborough Mirror notes the concerns about homes being built with reduced setbacks that create parking fears. This is leading to unchecked illegal boulevard parking, creating extremely dangerous line-of-sight conditions. Welcome to our Montezuma neighborhood. The building of this redevelopment will mean traffic chaos for 3 to 6 years, with the latter date being a second phase. This is not a one-time development process. There is no parking space for construction equipment, contractors' supplies, and workers' vehicle. Street traffic will be a mess, along with the parking needed for store owners' vehicles and customer parking spaces. Today, when I drove by, there were 17 cars parked in the parking lot. There's not a store open. I have no idea why they're there. They're designed for 37 townhouses with 1 parking space each. That number is unrealistic, as every home would require more than 1 vehicle. Where are they to go? The adjacent townhouses at YCC 183 and 246 have 2 parking spaces for each owner, and that number is now insufficient. There are evenings when every single spot is full at this plaza.
Sir, can you please start to wrap it up?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll make this quick. I have concerns with debris, windblown dirt, dust, noise. All that would affect us. There's plenty of land in Scarborough to build on. Make the time and effort to go somewhere else where you're not destroying and changing people's lifestyles. In conclusion, ask yourselves if you would permit this development to be built next door to your own home. I would expect a resounding no.
Thank you,
For
sir.
your time, sir.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant, of the deputant? Please stay on, sir. Any questions? All right, sir. Thank you. Sure. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much, and good morning, sir. Through you, Mr. Chair. Sir, part of the issue that you raise, it's losing access to the retail environment as part of the comments you've made. Is that one of the points? Right. And is the plaza currently utilized in terms of how many stores are in the plaza? I don't know, so I'm asking the question.
I think there's about 15 or 16 stores.
Right.
I don't think they're all necessarily rented out, and I can understand from an ownership standpoint that they're there to make some money.
Sure.
It's been a problem since the bank left.
Right, okay.
They really can't get good clientele. The people that are there are pretty good people.
Sure, fair enough, sir. And the other concern you had, it's around traffic, in terms of increasing traffic.
The traffic problems there, I mean, I don't think it's any secret that there seems to be gambling dens, because
They're what, sir?
there are gambling dens in this plaza. You can drive there on a Friday or Saturday night, and you can't get a parking spot.
Right, so would it be a good thing to change the structure as it is now to address that, or is there some other ways in terms of addressing the
I
issue as you
think
point
that's
out?
up to the owners of the plaza.
But you're making the point, which is to say that you're not in favor or support of the application.
Correct.
But at the same time, you're making the point that there are some problems with respect to the plaza. So I guess I'm asking you, sir, through you, Mr. Chair, have you, for example, called the police? Have you called the local council?
Yes, we
to make this
have.
complaint? And have they found?
I don't think, unfortunately, sir, the police, this is not priorities for them to come around and ticket vehicles or take I know they have raided these gambling dens at different times, and they're shut down for a couple of weeks, then they start up again.
So you're telling us that the gambling den, as you referred it to, at that location was raided by the police and was shut down?
You could verify that by checking with the police.
No, but that's what you're saying to us
Yeah.
today. All right, that's what I just wanted to understand, sir. So you have a problem with respect to this particular site in terms of how it's being utilized, or it's actually being underutilized. You have an application that potentially could bring some changes that you are maybe not supportive of at this particular point in time. There's an opportunity for further discussion and so on. Do you wish to continue that discussion to see whether or not there is an opportunity to address the very things that you've raised with us today at the same time in terms of advancing perhaps development? So are you opposed to any development at all at that site?
I would say the townhouse development, correct.
What types of development are you supportive of on that site?
I haven't heard of any other proposal other
That's
than
not my question to you, sir. I'm asking you to help me to understand what you would prefer. You've come here this morning to tell us what you don't like. I'm simply asking you, sir, as a resident, and you've been a resident in the area for a long time, to help us to understand what you would prefer. One option is to leave it alone and perhaps try to get more customer
That would be my main proposal, is it's up to the owners of the plaza to somehow or other be able to attract new tenants.
Right, and that's helpful, sir, because it helps them. Thank you very much for your time, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions of the deputant? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. I understand that the councillor wishes the developer to say a couple of words, and I think if they're in agreement, we'll like to call them down, please. Sir, if you can tell us your name, will be greatly appreciated in the company.
Saul Wassermuel is my name.
All right, sir, you got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may just correct a couple of points that were, we saw the letter this morning that was issued by the community. First of all, the shopping center is not doing very well. There are a lot of empty shops within the center. We were able to maintain half the center, and we've actually offered anybody who's in the north part of the center that has been demolished a facility or space within the half the center that is there, because it's not full either. The half the center that's being retained is only partially rented. There are empty shops in that half. The northern half is doing very badly, and as I said, the shops that were remaining, such as the barber shop, we offered them to move to the south, and the gentleman said he's going to retire anyway. So nobody's being booted out, nobody's being kicked out, no leases are being terminated and such. And it's a failing center, so something has to be done with it, and we felt that the most appropriate thing to do would be a townhouse development. We think that fits into this neighborhood very well. When we had our meeting with the community, after the meeting, we reduced the density on the project by 15%. We went from 43 units to 37 units, which is a significant reduction. In terms of traffic, our traffic consultant is here. The city have reviewed the traffic situation. The traffic actually is slightly better post-development than if you had a shopping center that was active. So it's not an increase in traffic. It's actually a slight decrease in traffic that's occurring on the site. And in terms of the size of the units, which is addressed, somebody's concerned about a rooming house, these are going to be condominium townhouses. They're going to be 2 and 3 bedroom units. Half of them are 3 bedroom units, half are 2 bedroom units. And if you look at the GFA for the projects being applied for, it works out that the gross floor area per unit averages about 1,200 square feet per unit. So these are not tiny little units as being inferred, and it is definitely a condominium for ownership townhouse development that is being proposed. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions of the deputant? Councillor Lai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for the presentation, for your speech, and actually you've answered some of the questions that I have in mind here. We have concern about setting up rooming houses, so there seems to be this concern in the neighborhood as well. You're not going to be intending to do it like a rooming house kind of a model?
Absolutely not.
Okay, thank you. And how many units were you originally applying for, and then coming down to 37 units now?
Right. We had 43 units with the application, and we reduced it to 37 after the meeting with the public.
Thank you. And the plaza, as I understand, is half empty now. Is that correct?
That's correct. There are no long-term leases in the north half. There's some very short-term stuff. And anybody who's there, we've certainly offered them to move to the south because we have vacant shops in the south as well. Only a fraction of the shopping center actually is rented and active, unfortunately.
And I have a letter from a barber in the plaza. He wrote me and said that he has to move and he has to lose everything and he has to start somewhere else. Have you actually offered the barber the similar location at the other end of the plaza?
Yes, our representative from the shopping center actually met with him, offered him to relocate to the south because we have all these empty shops, and he declined, saying that he was going to retire within a year or two anyway, and by the time we start the project, he will be doing that. He did not want to relocate, even though we offered him that. There's empty shops in the south shopping center. There are empty shops.
This is quite a rundown plaza here, as I can see, for quite some time. It is not good for the community. You know, are you planning to actually make the other part of the plaza, the commercial component, are you spending some money on that to make it look better?
We're trying to improve it in every regard. We're trying to lease the shops. We're trying to improve it as much as we can. There was a discussion the gentleman brought up about the gaming house there. We investigated that because we're not interested in that. And our understanding is that it's actually a sports card club. They have sports cards and things. And they do have events in the evenings where they have games related to this. But and we've inquired with the police as well. Our understanding is that it's not gambling. If it is, we'd want them out. That it's a sports card business, apparently doing well. And one of the reasons that the shopping center parking is full, the gentleman alluded to, is there's a lot of illegal parking at night in the shopping center. When the shopping center is closed, he's quite right, there are still cars there. And they belong to, obviously, the residents in the area who are taking the opportunity to park in the shopping center illegally.
And you've actually, this is my final question, you have offered some community benefits voluntarily for this, to improvement for the area. Is that correct?
That is correct, Councillor. We've worked with yourself and the planners and urban designers to provide as much as possible. And one of the things that the Portal Development is doing in all their projects, and we've done another project in Scarborough, we believe in offering a Section 37, even though it's voluntary. It's not a requirement with this project. It's too small a project to be required to provide a Section 37 contribution, but we felt it appropriate. We're doing a project to provide some funds to the community. In this case, it's $125,000, which can be spent within the community to provide improvements that yourself, as councillor, would decide where it would go, and we're happy to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Questions of the deputant?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to the deputant. Sir, can you give us an idea as to your track record with respect to development? Are you a developer?
Yeah, the Portal Developments, actually, my son, Kevin, who's here today, runs the project.
Yes.
I work with him. I've been in the architecture business for 50 years. So
okay, fair enough.
That is my direction in practice.
Okay, that's very helpful, sir, to understand.
Thank you.
There are a number of concerns that have been raised through communications that's been sent in. I don't know if you've seen any of these communications. Can I just walk you through a bit?
Please.
Lack of green space. How are you addressing that?
We have patios out front, all around the periphery of the development. The requirement for setbacks was 3 meters. We are providing 2 meters. So it's slightly deficient to setback, but not major. And what we do have is we've provided all the units with rooftop patios, rooftop gardens, which is a major feature. So every unit has a wonderful facility as a garden. And they don't have to burden the street with barbecues and things like that. It's all going to be on the rooftop gardens or on the decks that they have on the side.
Fair enough, sir. Another comment was around, obviously, density, but community safety, concerns around safety with your development. Can you address that?
Well, in terms of traffic, it's actually an improvement. And again, the traffic engineers can verify that. In terms of safety, just looking at the previous application that you discussed here today, and the planner made the point about how important it is to have eyes on the streets. And one of the problems we had with the previous project is that there were no eyes on the street. Well, in this particular instance, every single unit in the project is accessed from one of the 3 streets. We front onto 3 major streets. We have all our units accessed from the streets. We have our windows, our living spaces, so on, onto these streets. So there's going to be lots of eyes on the street, and that is how you provide safety to the community.
Fair enough. There's a question and concern about the number of units. How many units again? Was it 37 or 39?
There are 37 units, sir.
Right. So one of the comments has been to reduce the unit count to 22 or 25. Is that feasible?
As I pointed out, we've reduced it by 15% already. The project, there are a lot of tough requirements around the project. We're experiencing a lot of them. It's tough to make a project work today as a townhouse project. We're trying to provide housing that is affordable within the community. We have to sell this in this community, and you can't make them so expensive that people within the community can't afford to live there. So we're very concerned about the economics to make them affordable, and reducing it to that level would cause them not to be affordable.
Right. So as part of the communication that's been sent in, there's a sentiment or view that would suggest that your proposal will have a detrimental impact and effect. And around the questions I've asked you already, you addressed some of those as one. I wonder if I just afford you the opportunity, sir, just to provide an overall general commentary on what you think the impact would be on this particular development to the community. And certainly bearing in mind, you've already made a number of statements about the lack of utilization of the site, the emptiness, and the issue around not having enough eyes and ears in the area to protect the overall interests of the community. You talk about traffic and so on. I wonder if you could just help us with respect to some additional commentary.
Thank you, Councillor. As you yourself pointed out, having a failing shopping centre does nobody any good. And you got to replace at least half the centre, because we can make half of it work and half has to be replaced. And if you're going to replace it, the only logical use to replace it with would be a townhouse development, provide housing that is affordable within the community to that community, and home ownership. This is not a rental, this is a condominium project. It's been designed working with planning and urban design over a long period of time to provide a design that is, I believe, a superior design from an urban design viewpoint. It's going to be very attractive, and it's going to provide safety and eyes on the street and a more vibrant atmosphere for the community at large.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions of the deputant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Questions of staff? Councillor Lai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Some issues have been around traffic. I assume that the traffic study has been done on this.
Hi, through you, Mr. Chair. Councillor Lai, yes. So there was a traffic study that was prepared by Leah Consulting as part of this application.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Can we ask the staff maybe to stand at the podium? I can't actually hear her. Yeah, I think that's a better microphone.
Okay. Okay. Is this better?
Yes, it's on.
Okay. Is this better?
Speak up.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's on.
Okay, that's better.
Okay.
It's better. I can hear her. Yeah, it's not the same mic with the lights. It's fine.
Okay. Yes. So there was a transportation impact assessment that was prepared by Leah Consulting as part of this application, and the results were that it was concluded that this development would not have a significant impact on the current traffic patterns in this neighborhood.
So the transportation staff don't have any concern with traffic issues in this neighborhood, or is this the impact for this development? Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What about parking?
Sorry?
What about parking? Are there any concern?
Okay.
Are this going to be enough? Or
yes, through you, Mr. Chair, there are adequate parking spaces that are being provided that are in accordance with the citywide zoning bylaw requirements, which is 1 parking space per residential unit and 0.2 visitor parking spaces for each dwelling unit.
through you, Mr. Chair, is there a buffer to the current residential area for this development?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, there is a setback from each street. So there's a setback from Montezuma and Brimley Road that's being provided with 2 meters. And we're negotiating with the applicant for that to be a green space as well. So it will create a green buffer that's consistent with the landscape patterns within the neighborhood. And on the south portion, there is the surface parking spaces that are in between the dwelling units and the commercial plaza, and that creates a buffer between the commercial use and the residential use. And in the north, there's also landscaping that are being provided around 1.5 meters.
Thank you. Does the development fall within the provincial public policy or the infill development policy that has been around?
We have through you, Mr. Chair, we have evaluated this application to the provincial policy statement and the growth plan, and we find that it is consistent with those policies.
Thank you. One final question for you. On similar sites, are we seeing larger scale of development, including maybe mid-rise or high-rise or whatever, on similar sites in the area?
Through the chair, I'll answer this, Councillor Lai. Retail plaza sites in Scarborough are usually contextually redeveloped. So along Sheppard Avenue, where a retail plaza were to be redone, you would usually see a mid-rise building type. This development, given the land use designation and its context, has gone with a more of a townhouse form, which is more contextually appropriate than a mid-rise building or a tall building that you may see in other parts of the district.
Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you. Any further questions of staff? All right. Thank you very much. Speakers. Councillor Lai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I'd like to thank staff for doing a very, very good report on this one, and as well as the applicant. And also, I'd like to thank the residents for showing all the concerns that in any development, with a democratic society, we'd like to hear from everybody. And this development has been, I've been working on this for almost a year, and we've held a couple of community meetings and public meetings, and there are people who are against it, and because people don't want to change, but I think I'm satisfied with what the staff has done here, and we like to see a very sustainable and smart development, and the applicant has shown to me that they really, really want to work with the community on ensuring that the community safety, community benefit that we're all benefiting from, and I will be supporting staff recommendation on this one. Thank you.
Any further speakers? I'd like to say a couple of words. I had the opportunity in my ward to work with the developer, and it was a similar plaza, 1.1 acre, and I believe at the end of the day, we had 61 stacked down homes. The one point that it drove home to me is that in speaking to a school later on, the principal, when we were talking about speed humps outside the school and everything else, the principal turned around and says, when are they moving in? We want those kids to come here. So this goes to tell you that our plazas, our strip plazas, are a thing of the past. They were okay in the 70s and 80s, but with what's happening on the internet and people going to shopping on Amazon and people ordering from the websites and everything else, our plazas are dying. We do have an example right here on this plaza that half the plaza is empty, and there's some individuals in there that probably the community doesn't want. And here's an opportunity to have homes in the northern part of the plaza, and in the bottom side still continue to have the commercial aspect, and that will change, and it will change the makeup of the plaza, as well as get rid of the elements that the community is not supporting. So I will be supporting Councillor Lai's position, and although it is something that the community might be not wanting at this point in time, I'll tell you, when this is built, like my community, you will have kids that will be moving in, you have a vibrant neighborhood, and the staff, the thing that drove the point home to me was the principal asking, when are those kids moving in, because we want them at our school. Having said that, I'd like to, Councillor Thompson has got a couple of words to say.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I want to thank Mr. Beale, and obviously he's there with another gentleman from the community, and I noticed that there, and his commentary is not in support of this. I want to thank the applicant as well in terms of making the point in terms of presentation. I think it's always very challenging and very difficult with respect to assessing and accepting change. And I don't think it's a question of not necessarily accepting change. It's just that perhaps they have a different perspective in terms of what should happen and how it should actually happen. I think we're always challenged with respect to addressing sort of the, if you will, the equilibrium between change and the status quo. I'm actually quite familiar with that plaza. My mother actually used to go and get her hair done, her hairdresser's there. I used to drive her there and so on. And so I'm aware of it. The plaza has been challenged and just the way it's set and so on. But it's a community asset, and I get that. And what is actually comforting to me is that in as much as the applicant is wishing to do a development there in terms of transition, I understood from him in terms of his presentation on behalf of his son or whatever the sort of ownership structure of this company is, that they're desirous of at least at the same time creating and allowing for some commercial retailing opportunity at the same time. And so it's a balance that has to exist. And I realize that in as much as we are interested in protecting all interests, we also have to apply a level of fairness in terms of when we look at these types of applications. On the one hand, we have a commercial plaza that has been for many, many years. My mother doesn't go and get her hair done there anymore. It hasn't done so for quite some time. But I know recently I had the opportunity of driving the High Commissioner of Canada to India and his wife, who grew up in the area, because we had to drive around just to take a look at the area. It's a beautiful little catchment area. I realize we want to protect the interest and the integrity and so on. But I don't see from the application that this is going to not be maintained, the integrity of the community. I think that the introduction of the development will actually, in spite of the view around safety and so on, and I think that it will actually be a benefit to the community. And I realize the transition for some will be very difficult to accept and so on. But in our efforts, and all of us here as members of community council or members of council have had applications like this in our respective communities and so on, where it's a matter of how you balance the respective interests and so on. And I think that the local councillor has done a really good job in terms of addressing the issues. Now, I've read the communications because I think even though it's not my ward, it's important if I'm going to vote for something or vote against something, at least have the facts and at least I'm comfortable with the decision that I've made. And so I am very comfortable with the decision that I'm going to make, which is to support the application. Our professional staff have actually provided us with advice. These are people that are very good at what they do. We don't always support them, and that's obviously a given because we have to make a decision in terms of how we interpret the reports and the recommendations that are being put forward. But I would say if this particular site was in my ward, I would want to see an infusion of engagement and to ensure that there's a balance of interest. I'm actually not one that supports the notion that simply says we are going to do away with our plazas in our community and so on. I have many plazas on Lawrence Avenue. Remember years ago when I was first elected, people would say, well, why don't you bulldoze them and so on. I was never supportive of that. What I thought we should do is try to enhance them. What we've actually done on Lawrence Avenue, we've actually done an enhancement. We actually had a Lawrence Avenue study, which now says you can actually add layers so you can have residential housing on top of the plazas and so on, creating the eyes and ears that we talk about in terms of making a safe, better community and so on. And I realize, sir, Mr. Beale, in terms of your presentation, I respect your comments here because I thought they were strong and from your perspective. But I now have to say, how do I land on this? And as much as your commentary have been effective, I think that it's a balance of interest. And I think that a good balance has been struck here with respect to the recommendations in this report. And so for those reasons, I'm actually going to support the staff recommendation and support the local councillor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councillor. Seeing no further speakers, all those in favor of Councillor Lai's? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Our next item, I believe, is SC 10.9, intention to designate under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act, 3315 Midland Avenue. Councillor Lai, I think we have speakers, and that would like to invite Sarah Gregory from Western Consulting to come down, please. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to everyone, and thanks for providing me an opportunity to speak to this item again. As Councillor Karagiannis said, I'm Sarah Gregory. I'm here from Weston Consulting. We're the agent on behalf of the owner of the property. We're here today to speak to this item and to request a deferral of Council's consideration of the intent to designate the property under Part 4, Section 29 of the Ontario Heritage Act. To give you some background as to how we reached this request, we have been engaged with the City of Toronto in pre-application consultation meeting where we advanced a development concept there that was supported, in principle by the city, subject to certain design tweaks, and since this time have been well underway preparing the supporting materials necessary to submit a complete application under the Planning Act. As part of this detailed review and the application preparation period, our heritage consultant, Paul Dills, has been undertaking the research and analysis of the heritage considerations of the farmhouse as part of his heritage impact assessment. His research has noted some differing interpretations of the heritage characteristics of the sites from the Statement of Significance prepared by the City of Toronto. And these relate to the year of construction and the ownership of the building. This was brought to staff's attention, who acknowledged that additional review would be required to ensure that the designation proceeds based on correct information. And so they are, as we understand, supportive of this deferral. So we'd like to request a deferral of Council's consideration until the latter part of Q1 of 2020, although we haven't set a specific date with City of Toronto staff. We'd like to, perhaps have a deadline for all of us to work towards of April 2020. The Community Council meeting is at the beginning of April then. This is in line with our understanding from the city that it would take their heritage researchers about 3 to 4 months to conduct their background research. This will allow them to sit down with our heritage expert and review their findings, review their analysis, and move forward as they see fit, whether that may mean a new statement of significance or proceeding with deferral proceeding with the intent to designate as noted on this agenda. This will also allow our team to continue to prepare the supporting materials necessary as part of a complete application, and what this will mean is that should the deferral proceed, it will allow the boundary of the heritage area to be based on the technical studies that are supported to ensure that the property can achieve its full development potential while also maintaining the heritage characteristics of the farmhouse itself. And this will also allow time for the full heritage impact assessment to be completed by our consultant. Otherwise, I'm here to answer any questions you may have, and thanks for your time.
Thank you. Questions of the deputant? Thank you very much. Okay. Questions of staff? Speakers? Councillor Lai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Given that new information was brought forward that staff need the time to review, I have a motion, please, Clerk.
Put the motion up, please. Thank you.
I just wanted to I have a motion that consideration of the item be deferred until the first quarter of 2020. This application has been delayed several times, and I think we need to get on with it. But we don't really want to rush into it because, we need staff to really detail it because it involves heritage on the site. So I just wanted to make sure that we have given staff enough time to review the new information. So moved.
Questions of the mover? All right, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item SC 10.11, application to remove a private tree, 95 Pebble Hill Square. I believe we do have a speaker, Joseph Lim. Come on down, sir.
I have some pictures to show you.
Give it to staff over on the side there, and they will.
As I speak, can you flip over the picture? Good
Are
morning.
you ready, sir?
Yeah.
Mr. Lim, you got 5 minutes, sir.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, City Council. My name is Joseph Lim. I live in 95 Pebble Hill Square. I live in this house for the past 25 years. And I have a 40-foot Colorado blue spruce located in my backyard, as shown in the picture. And also in my backyard, I have a patio. The patio is used to be paved from the left to the right of my backyard. Can somebody flip on the next page, please? Yeah. But the roots of this tree has lifted the patio stones and damaged my patio, which is beyond my expectation, and I underestimate the strength of the roots. So I have to remove the section of this patio and manage to cut off some roots. And these roots are about 2 to 3 inches in diameter, but some of the roots are buried deep inside the ground, which required a lot of effort of digging and finding and difficult to cut. The roots are growing day by day, and there are many of them. Based on the thickness and strength, it will only take one root to break into the foundation, and I have to spend thousands of dollars to fix the damage. Therefore, I am preventing this from happening and would like to stop from further damage if it had already occurred. I asked the City Council to allow me to remove this spruce tree before it makes further damage to my house. I will plant another tree farther away from the house as a replacement to this spruce tree.
Thank you,
I'll take
sir.
any questions.
Any questions of the Deputant, Councillor Lai?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, you said that you're going to plant another tree. Is it almost the same size as this
On
one?
the same side, but further away, but not this close, because this tree, I feel that it's too high, too big, and the root is going to damage my foundation. So if I am allowed to remove this tree, and I can plant another tree farther away from the house.
So you're gonna build same size and same
I'm going
type
to
of
plant
tree?
another type of tree because this tree is too big for me to handle. Maybe a smaller in scale. Probably I haven't right now. I haven't no idea yet. But planting a small one is feasible because as a residential house, this type of tree is not suitable for residential place.
How long did you say you lived in here? Are you the owner of the house?
I'm the owner of the house.
How long have you lived here?
I lived there in the house for about 25 years already.
25 years. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. So, sir, thank you very much for your presentation this morning. So you've said the tree is too high? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. The tree's too big?
Yes.
Okay. And that the tree roots are affecting your patio?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Because the tree is too high and because it needs space
Sure.
to grow.
Appreciate that,
Right.
sir. I wonder if the staff could put the other photo up that shows the patio, the area where the patio stones are.
That's the second page. Yeah.
Right. So the area where it seems to be that you've dug, is that the root of the tree there, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And where is your patio is to the left?
Yeah, my patio is from the left
Yes.
to the right side. It's
and-
covered with patio stones.
So you had patio stones there before?
Yes.
Okay. But when I look at the photo here, it seems to be a bit of a grading. Is there a grading? Is there a slope there?
I probably maybe because I cut the tree 2 years ago. That's
No, I
2017. There may be. I'm not expert in.
Sure, but when I look at the photo, it doesn't seem to be flat. It seems to be a bit of a grade. You see where the what appears to where the yellow line is, right?
Yeah,
And then
that's
to the left of that, there is like a black, looks like a black post or something there.
Yeah.
Right, in that area there, if you move your fingers to the left towards the stones, right in that area, is that area sloping?
Yes,
Okay,
and
fair
that's
enough.
the place that I removed the roots.
Okay.
So that's why it's like sloping down.
Okay, fair enough. You removed the roots from that area. Did you have your patio extended to there? Was there a walkway? Were there patio stones there
Yes,
before?
yeah, before, yes.
And when did you remove the patio stones?
It was 2 years ago.
So 2 years ago, you removed the patio stone. At what point, when you removed the patio stone, were you aware that the roots of the tree were impacting your
Yeah, because at the time that patio stone was lifted,
Yes.
moving upward.
Okay.
So I noticed the change. So
Right.
I thought that it's just the workmanship of the landscaper, or
Right.
I don't know.
Okay.
And
So, sir, just because I just need to understand this, when I look at the hole that you've dug there, there's a root. Is that what's there that you're showing?
yes, that is
Okay.
the marker that I put.
The marker that's there. And could I then say, sir, that's about, I'm going to guess, maybe 8 to 12 inches down? Would you agree with that?
Yes.
All right. So how then was the root able to impact your patio stone to the left when they're growing, let's say, a foot lower in the ground? How was that possible?
I have no idea. Maybe
You have no idea.
Yeah, I have no idea. But
Okay, so then maybe I'll ask you another question, sir. You show a route that's going towards your home, and I accept that. I'm just wondering, were there others that are growing in other directions that you've identified as part of what's creating an impact on your patio?
Not so far, yeah. Because I noticed it only when it lifted the patio stone. And I started to worry about why my patio stone was lifted. Then I started to remove the patio stone and investigate. And I found
I see.
out that the roots are like
Right. And just,
protruding on the surface.
fair enough. And just my final question, sir. Did you plant the tree or was the tree planted?
No. I moved in 25 years ago. I think that tree was planted together with the house, but probably 50 years old already.
Fair enough. Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Any further questions? I have a couple if I can. How far is the tree away from the house?
The distance I measured is about 22 feet.
22 feet away.
Yeah, because my patio is about 10 feet. 10,
Is,
and the tree from my patio is about 10 feet.
is there any danger of the tree falling down upon the house, or is the tree still a solid tree?
The tree moves and sway around during high winds.
But you don't see it as a danger to your house?
No, except for the roots that's
Okay,
going
so
through
we
the
have
foundation.
one root, or is there more than one root that you
I
found?
cannot tell because the roots are growing under the ground. What I can only see is if the roots are like floating upwards, then I notice that. But if the tree is going under the ground and touches the foundation,
So the tree is
cannot
20 feet away from the house?
yes.
Sir, can I ask you this other question? There's more trees that are similar, a lot of houses that are 20 feet away. Are you asking us just beside your house, and I realize that, charity starts at home, but if we were to support this, then we'll have other people be coming forward and saying, we would like to cut our tree down because it's 20 meters away or 20 feet away and we're going to have problems with the roots. Is
it's
this what you're
not-
advocating?
It's not because of the distance, because it's the evidence that the roots is because some of the tree, even if it's 20 feet or 15 feet, it never touches the foundation. It just grows on other ways, sideways or backwards.
Have you seen any damages to your basement? Is there any evident damages to your basement?
There are some seepage 2 years ago, but I managed to seal it with the paint. And I talked to my landscaper. He says that is not the solution. The solution is you need to fix it from the outside.
So this is a live tree. It's
Yes.
not a dead tree.
No, it's a live tree.
It's a live tree. So you're asking us to cut a live tree.
Yeah, and I'm willing to replant another one as a replacement for this tree.
Okay. Do you realize that even if we pass it here and it goes downtown to council, you're not going to get a chance to do that? I mean, the people are going to turn it down. Have you looked at the history of our council? Like, we're not advocating for cutting down trees. We're advocating for supporting trees. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, but this tree will damage my foundation. So if it's damaged, then I have to pay for the damage, pay for the expense, thousands of dollars. So I'm the owner of the house. I have the right to protect my house.
True enough, sir. But when you moved in, the tree was there.
Yes.
And the tree's 20 feet away.
Yeah.
It's not like right next to your house. It's 20 feet away.
20 feet away is quite far, but the strength of this tree is very strong, and the roots are like expanding towards my house.
So if we set a precedence here today with you, other people that come forward, we should also allow them to cut the trees down. Is this what you're proposing?
No, if they can prove that the roots is hurting the foundation, why not? Because house, I worked so hard for this house. I worked all my life. I have spent money to maintain it, and I have to protect my house from being damaged.
All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Nope. Okay. Thanks. Questions of staff. Councillor Lai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Question to staff. In your report, does it show that are there any indication of the damage to the foundation for this tree?
Councillor, through the chair, there's no indication of damage to the foundation.
There's no indication. I see. And so you checked for it, right? Did you make a point to check on that while you're doing the investigation?
We don't check the foundations. We rely on the applicant to make that claim in their documentation.
Yeah, so how are you going to make the statement that there's no damage to the foundation then?
There was none indicated in the report.
There's no evidence?
No.
I see. And then also in your report, you said that tree roots are not physically capable of exerting the force required to lift or to crack the property constructed. So is that a fair statement that you don't think that this tree is going to be hurting the house or?
Correct. At this distance, it'd be virtually impossible for the tree to damage the foundation.
And also, you said on the report that this kind of tree is a very valuable part of the urban forest, and with proper care and maintenance, this tree has the potential to provide the property owner and the surrounding community with benefits for many more years. So what kind of care and maintenance you think that this tree is lacking, or?
It's a standard statement we put in there that says that trees that are maintained can last for quite some time. Obviously, we can't presume what the homeowners will do for maintenance. We recommend to them that they do proper care and maintenance of the trees. The trees should be inspected every 5 years. The trees should be pruned as required. That's sort of the proper maintenance.
So do you think that this tree has poor maintenance, or is it good? Is it okay with the maintenance at this point?
It's fine at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Okay. Speakers, Councillor Lai.
Actually, the same tree was removed arbitrarily on my street a couple of years ago, and all our residents had a fit. I mean, this kind of tree, it really takes a long time to grow, and it's a beautiful tree. So also, I don't think that if it's not really damaging the foundation, and as I myself actually applied for tree removal a few years ago, and I got declined as well. And I didn't realize, because I was doing some renovation in my house, and I didn't realize how important a tree is to the community and to Toronto. So I would tend to agree with Councillor Karagenis about if we're going to set this precedent here to remove this tree, we there's a very high likelihood that it's not going to be approved down at City Hall because, we've been really, really controversial. A lot of trees wanted to be removed. So if we keep removing all the trees in the city, it will not be good for the city. So I would be supporting the staff recommendation on this one. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Councillor Crawford, I believe you have a motion.
Actually, I have two motions. One that's Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw bills 1533 to 1538 prepared for the November 5th, 2019 meeting 10 of the Community Council.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next, that Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw the confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceeding of the Scarborough Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 10 on November 5th, 2019.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. And thank you to the students for coming down. And staff for helping us sail through this.